All set?
Yeah.
All right. Time being 6:36, I'm going to call to order the public hearing for the Tilton Planning Board on Tuesday, February 13th, 2018. I'd like to, well, I don't like to start off, but I'll start off the meeting with a little bit of sadness and offer our condolences to the Haberman family as the recent passing of our former member of the Planning Board, Bob Haberman. So I'd just like to take a few seconds for a moment of silence for him. Thank you. You served on the planning board for a number of years, and also including myself when I first started as an alternate on the board, so he was a great person to talk to. I'm going to move the review of the January 30th minutes towards the end of our meeting. Also, if you're here for planning board case 1803, site plan review proposal from Beth Jocelyn to operate a food stand at 303 Laconia Road in the Resort Commercial District, R22/15. She has requested a continuance, so that case will not be heard tonight. So if you're here for that case.
Yeah, and just so I don't forget, in order to maintain continuation of notices, at some point we need to make a motion to continue to some date certain. February 27th would make sense.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to continue planning board case 18-03, site plan review to February 27th.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So carried. And Dari will take care of notifying her.
I will, yes,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, moving on. Planning board case 17-14. Continuation of subdivision site plan review and conditional use permit, groundwater protection district. Proposal from Tilton Retail LLC to subdivide the existing 2 lots into 3 and to construct and operate multiple commercial units including retail and restaurant usage at 80 and 96 East Main Street in the Regional Commercial District, R24/12 and 13. You want to move that way closer, unless I'm sure these guys want to see too.
Pull the chair.
Yeah, pull the chair. Yeah. Oh, it's high. It sits high. I thought it sat low.
For the record, Austin Turner with Polar Engineering. I'm joined this evening by Ethan Conley from Muscati Development. We were here right after Christmas, first time, and we had a very, very good discussion with the planning board. You had made some recommendations for us to go do a couple things. The first one was go with the Conservation Commission, which we did. I believe you have a copy of the discussion from that meeting. It was a productive discussion, and generally what we heard is that they were in favor of the project and supported the things that we're doing. A lot of that discussion focused on stormwater system. They were happy to hear the things that we were doing. They asked a lot of detailed questions about how the treatment trains were being put together, foreign standards and things like that. And generally speaking, we're in favor of it. They have a couple of recommendations in their memo to you that we talked about and we support. So we're comfortable with that. Second part was you asked us to go and coordinate and work with your independent engineering peer review consultant. So through Dari, the plans got submitted to that engineering consultant. We received a letter with some comments in there, which we've addressed, and have issued plans back with a letter which kind of formalizes our responses to that. The short version of that is that there was nothing in that letter that we saw that we disagreed with or that we said no to. And the plans have been updated. The plans that I brought to Dari and sent him earlier last week are representative of those changes. Those changes were highly technical in nature. They didn't change anything superficially that you would see here. We actually had some additional landscaping at their request, things like that. Most of the things that were there were related to some refinement of calculations for stormwater, some of the pipe network. They wanted us to change some of the math on that. No problems. We've accommodated that. So really, what I'd like to do tonight is work through any questions or additional questions you may have about where the peer review went, how we responded to it, any items that we discussed with the Conservation Commission, and then open it up for you to ask any questions and kind of drill down a little bit further. What we were considering, provided the board is amendable to it, is perhaps exploring a conditional approval, provided the board feels comfortable with that. And there's a number of conditions that Dari has already identified, which would be appropriate, should you so choose to approve the project this evening.
I think I've had a chance to review the, what is theirs? Just confusing myself, sorry.
Can you share with us the conditions you were talking about? Want to go over those?
Sure. Yeah. I think one potential condition would be to have these responses verified by the third-party engineer, confirm that they address his comments, sort of where he was going with his comments. Another would be, condition upon receipt of all required state, local, and federal permits. Another would be related to the surety that the third-party engineer recommended. Let's see, something about a subdivision plan suitable for recording. That would be a condition of a site plan approval. Okay. And maybe along with that condition, indicating that plan needs to show the easements as recommended by the third-party engineer. Potentially a condition about boundary monuments, that could be discussed. I think that may be it. I have I'm not sure why, I have a C, let's see, next to something about the conditional use permit. Not sure where I was going with that, I'll double check that in a second. And getting, a condition that the wetland scientist stamp the final plans.
I think that goes on the subdivision plan.
Okay.
Yeah, we can work that out for sure.
Some of the
Well, site plan and subdivision plan, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
some of these recommendations by Keach Nordstrom Associates are not quite that technical. Perhaps we could go over some of these.
Happy to.
I went right to page 4.
Which comment number?
Excuse me?
Which comment number would it be?
Planning design matter.
Okay.
The first one, given vehicular circulation patterns proposed in lots 2 and 3, it appears proper accommodation of product deliveries may be difficult during business hours. We recommend the site development plans be expanded to identify suitable accommodations for product deliveries. Was that done?
Yes, and to the extent, so what they were asking, in fairness to them, they're not intimately familiar with the tenants that we're considering here and that we're working with, Ethan and I are negotiating with right now for this kind of development. So customarily for the middle uses where you're going to have kind of a fast casual restaurant, a retailer, and then there's another fast casual restaurant over there, the vehicles that you're going to be seeing there are largely the box style variety. They're not going to be big rigs or 18-wheelers. We don't expect that are gonna come and then kind of be invasive to the property in terms of turning maneuvers. So we're confident that the space we've allocated, the delivery vehicle can pull into a parking space or pull off in the back off hours where they're not gonna be impeding operations of the facility. And then similarly, some of the retailer that we're considering for that location in there, you can go in and view the product, but sometimes you can't buy it. So in the case of a mattress store, the products are available, you would purchase it, would be shipped direct from the warehouse to your home as opposed to being available in that small facility for you to take home. So that's a long answer. The short answer is we're very comfortable with the turning movements that are designed here to accommodate vehicles that we expect, and most importantly, emergency response vehicles. But we don't expect very large tractor trailers driving through, navigating across those properties.
So you didn't expand?
We didn't expand, no.
So you
No.
didn't agree with everything that they suggested?
I don't disagree with their comments, but I don't know that it's totally applicable to this particular project either. Had this been a larger retailer, I would have designed it for a larger vehicle.
Did you deal with, under 3, any of these drainage issues? So proposed,
Yes.
recommend the design engineer recheck and revise the project plans as needed in order to satisfy the cited requirement?
Yes, we did. We updated the plans as well as the drainage report.
I did see in the drainage report you changed some of your stormwater calculations from the first one.
We made some modifications to accommodate the comments that we had in there.
How about on sheet 5, the design engineer proposes the use of trench drain at the northerly site driveway.
We removed the trench drains, we've added, so the driveway they're referring to is here.
Yep.
These right-in, right-outs oftentimes have large flares, which make it a hard driveway to grade. What we did is we refined the grading in here, we added catch basins at each of the roundings, and kind of defined a more clear gutter line there for catch basins as opposed to trench drains.
Those catch basins connected to the storm tech system?
The catch basins that we have on the outside, we're going to be directed to the underground detention system, correct?
To the storm tech.
Correct.
Okay.
Possibly a storm tech used.
She's referring to the chamber system under the park.
Yeah, I'm just thinking where else we had it used in town.
It may have been used at the Lowe's. Not sure.
I don't think they
No,
used
John-
storm
John
tech. They
brought
used
it.
something similar. It was a storm tech recently came before us at a project on the east side of town.
Okay.
Before I go through any of this, one thing that comes to mind, and I noticed in the email letter from the State of New Hampshire Bureau of Railroads, is very concerned about the storm runoff.
What they're referring to is this site generally, it's high on the road. As we know, it's low on the backside of the property. So today, stormwater that runs off the property goes down in towards the direction of the railroad, where, so that railroad's obviously kind of an embankment or berm. The water kind of runs along that interface there. And they asked us to make sure that our drainage calculations would not be increasing runoff to that location where you'd expect some kind of erosion control problem, or that we're going to be sending a ton more water over there. So ultimately, where our calculation shows that we meet those state performance standards in terms of mitigating the post-development runoff, where we're controlling it, we're not just going to let it push out the back where you could have a potential erosion problem on the slope or cause another problem over the river. So what we've done is we've mimicked existing hydrology, and in some cases have further reduced the peak rate of runoff to address that item, which we're obligated to do regardless.
Well, the same amount of runoff's going to run off. You're just controlling it more.
Correct. Whereas today it's unattenuated.
In his letter, he specifically says, I realize the current design calls for infiltrating the water back into the ground, but the overflows are directed to the steep slopes at the rear of the property, which I'm also concerned about, which will direct water flow down to the railroad corridor, ditches, and tracks. So he's not just concerned about the way it sits now, he's concerned about after it's developed.
Mm-hmm.
He also talks about this stone swale to the right.
So go like,
And I noticed that your it still says you're leaving that in. Why are you leaving that stone swale in?
I'm going to open the plan so I can speak to that.
Okay.
So I get to the nitty-gritty. So the stone swale that I believe he's referring to,
Pardon?
the stone swale that I believe he's referring to,
To the right?
on the right-hand side of the plan.
Kind of out in the woods,
Um,
on the slope?
Oh, that existing stone swale?
Yes.
There's runoff that goes there today. If you take that out, there's a higher potential for erosion, in my opinion, because that stone enables the water to kind of hit it, break up, and dissipate velocity. To his other point about slope erosion and ultimately where that water goes, we've incorporated at the outlet of each of our infiltration systems the velocity dissipation and the plunge pools, which we're not sending it out the pipe and then going straight down the hill. So we're cognizant of how that slope acts and what we're doing to prevent it, which is a couple of things in terms of one, controlling the peak rate, and then two, giving it the ability to not channelize on the downstream side of it. In terms of water going and interfacing with the berm that is the railroad, I can't change that. That's the nature of the site. What I can do is change how much water I send down the hill to go there, and that's what we're doing.
So right now, the water sheet flows off the site, and you're channeling it to 2 outlets via the storm tech system. That's correct?
Three outlets.
Where's the third?
There's one on each of the properties, left, right, center.
Am I missing one on this one?
Is that the new one that we got today?
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't have a lot. Go back to that page.
I'm gonna go to the drainage page, I can read it.
Sheet 5 has it.
Grading and drainage plan. Oh, I see it, it's right there. It just doesn't have the same configuration as these, okay. All right, I see the third. So, given those steep slopes, and you're channeling it through these 3, still down the steep slopes, this stone swale to the west,
Right here?
yeah, there's still gonna be runoff
Correct.
down that hill. That stone swale's still gonna cause erosion, is it not?
I'd suggest it's an existing condition that I'm actually going to be, water that would be going there in the existing condition, I'm going to be reducing the amount of water that goes there because I'm now capturing it and
Yep.
putting it in the ground. So that stone swale in the post-development condition would be taking less water. And I'm of the opinion if you can armor that slope and keep a stone swale there, that is better, especially if water's going to find a natural course to go that direction. I prefer it to be reinforced.
So your feeling is that you're gonna reduce the amount of volume of water going down into that swale and thereby eliminate any erosion issues?
I can't say that I'm going to eliminate it, but I'm not making that condition worse. In fact, I suggest to you I'm probably improving that condition by reducing the amount of water that will be directed to that stone swale.
I guess my problem is if we have a known problem, why aren't we doing something to eliminate it?
I don't know that
You are proving it, you think, but we don't know.
Would the board's preference for me to remove that stone swale?
Don't know.
Because
Not a wetland engineer, I'm not.
I
I just know that this letter seems to contradict what you've said.
So, a couple points. One, I'm reducing the peak rate. The calculations show that. So I'm going to be sending less water to our point of analysis. Two, I'm actually reducing the volume too. And our calculations show that the amount of water that's going to be going to that point of analysis is reduced. Not just the rate of it, but the volume of it. And third, that existing condition that is there today is not something, in my opinion, that should be altered, because if you have a steep slope, when Ethan and I do projects, I have slopes that are steep and could be interacting with water, the first thing that we take a look at is reinforcing or armoring that slope, and in particular to channel. And where that has clearly formed over time, and if nobody's doing necessarily, that's a natural drainage course, that if you're going to continue it to go over a landscape surface, it has a higher potential for erosion than it would if we had reinforced it. And to that point, I'd suggest that we maintain that. If the board's preference is to remove it, Ethan and I can go down the woods and take those things out when we start.
It's really not a natural water course because it's obviously man-made.
What happened there is the topography, the way this site was created, is it became, this is the fill site that got created when the road was put in. And the fill was put there. And then water, obviously, is going to find the path of least resistance, so it found the path of least resistance. And then it was identified that it's going down that channel, so let's reinforce that. Ethan and I didn't do that. That's been there for a long time over the historic use of the property.
Probably God did it.
I don't know. I've created a very linear path there, but in any event, I suggest we keep it, but if you feel strongly about removing it, we can do that. I don't share.
Not an expert, I'm just concerned about what we know happens. You know, and I suspect this person has access to DES and their engineers and the railroad engineers, so I'm just,
Oh, I understand, and
Mr. Lombard seems to be concerned, so I'm speaking for him, and like I said, this member wouldn't sit here and say, take it out, because as I said, I'm not an engineer.
right, and perhaps maybe an appropriate thing for us to do is we still have a number of state permits to go and get, one of which is the alteration of terrain permit. I did meet with Gloria Andrews from HDES last week as our pre-application meeting. We're about to file that paperwork. Perhaps if the board feels that appropriate, like Daria had mentioned, a condition of a presumptive approval would be that we provide you with copies of our state permits. Gloria and I can speak about that issue specifically, and I'll ask her how she feels about it. When she's looking at the alteration of terrain permit application, she's reviewing things like hydrology. I can mention that to her in our discussions.
That'd be good for me. I don't know about the rest of the board.
Sure.
Eric.
Is there curbing, oh, I'm sorry, Jane.
No, correct me, Dory, if I'm wrong, but did you say one of the conditions we should make is that the third party look at what was done to address their concerns?
Yeah, that was,
So that would be the report that would really tell us.
I don't think he mentioned the stone swale in here, did he?
No,
I don't think so.
No.
That can come specifically in peer review, but that condition ultimately to provide the board the protections that you
Yeah.
want. Dari and I, with the board, I'd be comfortable with a condition that says, I have to provide the board with a letter from the engineer that says we've satisfactorily addressed all their comments and that I can't do anything else, and your presumptive approval is not valid until you receive that letter. You know, and we could tie it to a building permit, which gives me I can't go put a shovel in the ground or put a structure up until I give you that letter.
So we have a wetland, you do have a wetland scientist, again, that's one of the conditions to stamp the plan.
Yes.
That's all I need.
Yeah.
Is this site curbed all the way, or at least in the back and the sides?
It is fully curved.
I'm trying to find it.
I do the same thing.
Just little friends.
I have a question. Of these three outlets, do you, and because I can't read, which one is going to have the most outflow? Which one's going to gather the most water?
So I have to go back and look at the calculations specifically to tell you. Generally, when you look at the footprints of these systems, these two are very similar in size.
Yeah.
So these two are obviously the larger in terms of development footprints.
Right.
They're going to be similar in terms of their outflow, but these two would probably be higher.
So the
outflow.
two furthest from the railroad tracks
Correct.
will be.
I can go to the drainage report and try to give you more specifics.
Well, I'm just looking at it as a. Because I guess my next question would be, if there's a concern about the drainage affecting the railroad tracks, is it possible to change one of these outflows to the left side?
Oh, you mean mirror it?
Yeah, well, just go out to the left so that it takes longer to dissipate, and I believe there's already there's a brook or something that's already there.
Well, I mean, and that's a very astute observation, because my next point was going to be, this water that's coming down here, before it even gets to that, it's
Right.
going to get to that. And that's the drainage course that is that resource area at the bottom of the slope. That's really the thing, as opposed to my water, because that's going there, which is a good thing to do, because that's a water course that relies on water from the site. I have to mimic that, which is what I've modeled that to do. But if the board felt it appropriate and you wanted some added controls here, I could take that outlet control structure and put it on the other side, which just furthers the distance from that that point up in the upper right.
Well, I'm just thinking, that, you know, you're dissipating it, you're also dissipating the water further away from that, so that if you had a large outflow, you know, I mean, this one's already on the left side, so you can't move that, but if you need to move the other one to the left side,
Going back in here to see what we had for,
does that make sense? Well, I mean, these two look bigger than this one, but my eyes are getting old.
so it's just a point of, I'm looking at the 100-year storm, which is the largest storm we assess. And looking at one of those systems in there, we're putting out, that's going over the outlet control structure, you know, it's 1/10 of 1 CFS or a quarter of a CFS. So that's a very, very small flow rate in even the largest storm event. That's why you see those footprints. What we're doing with those footprints and making them that size is maximizing filtration, which is what DES wants us to do, and minimizing peak rate. So those are bigger systems to hold more water, which means I can let less out, which in turn protects the downstream erosion.
Well, the storm truck system is going to allow water to infiltrate into those soils, right?
Yes.
But yet your report said, I said, I'm not an engineer, and maybe it's dangerous that I read these things. But
I
your
like that you
goal,
actually read it, because sometimes people don't, and
oh,
they don't ask me questions about it, and I put all this time into it.
I read enough to be dangerous. But as I read these, almost all of them refer to it as the soil already is moist. Now, these were done in June of 2017, and that was kind of at the end of our drought period, but yet these borings all show moist,
So,
and a couple of them show wet. So you're sending into water into already moist soil on this, with a steep slope to the south. I mean, really steep slope. I really go up that hill, and I wouldn't do it today.
that's a very good observation.
So, let's see, here's one that says wet. So, my question is, if that was moist in June of 2017, when we were at the end of our dry drought, what is it normally?
So,
And how much water can it absorb if
you
it's
know what
already
task
got
we're
water?
doing? So,
And
there's
what's,
also test pit logs in here, right? So the borings are good, but I don't trust the borings fully. The borings tell me what levels I'm gonna find what kind of dirt at.
asphalt?
You can find a lot of stuff, and sometimes you find stuff you don't wanna see.
Yeah.
Not in this case, but that tells you where the different soil stratas are setting up.
Okay.
It gives you general indications of what you're gonna encounter in terms of material, and starts giving me an idea of what I'm gonna look at permeability.
Mhm.
However, what's really important to me are the test pits.
But your test pits are dry.
So here's where I'm going with that. So the test pits, you go out there, one of our guys, who's a licensed soil guy, goes in the hole with the excavator. He digs down well below the bottom of any of our infiltration systems. You can touch and feel dirt in its natural state. You're also looking for what they call redoxomorphic features, if you're familiar with that. You'll see on the soil line a very distinct band. You're familiar with it, right? Just like the arborvitae conversation. I'm always going to remember you for the arborvitae conversation. So you'll see the rust band, or a white, which is called glading, on the soil. And that's, the glading, when it turns white, is because the water has stripped out all the minerals. The rusting means that there's high iron or something, and it leaves a rust band. That's where seasonal high groundwater would come up, say, March, April, sometimes in May. It sits there for a while, and as it sits there and then goes down, you're going to see that glading or the redoxomorphic feature. Now, what we've done with all these test pits out here, is we've looked at to see where seasonal high groundwater is. It's very, very common to find soils that are a combination of material to be moist. They're going to retain water. It's topsoil. If you don't water a plant at home, sometimes you go to the very bottom and there's still moisture retention in there. Sometimes the vegetation in there maintains moisture and releases that into the soil. What I'm most concerned about is the groundwater. And in here, we designed these systems to be well above the groundwater table, because as water is going in the ground, ultimately you're going to form what's called the mound. And that mound is going to form under the system and then bleed into the ground. And I need adequate separation to do that. So I rely on the test pits when it comes to soil under my infiltration basins. And we're quite confident, having some smart people going in holes and looking at dirt, that the test pits tell us we can do what we're going to do, and that we shouldn't expect overly saturated soils when we're putting water in the ground.
You did 6 test pits. You took a photo of one test pit 1, but it was way up close to Route 3 by the entrance. Do you have a sheet that shows where the other test pits are in here?
Do you mind if I come over?
No, not at all.
I just want to make sure I'm approaching the table. Yeah, these are black and white. These are my test pit logs.
Yep.
I have the photos, no.
Yes, but where were they on the site?
Oh, okay,
So if they were all up in the front,
they were not. So
Okay.
so the state requires that we do test pits either immediately within or directly proximate to where the infiltration systems are gonna go.
okay.
So of course, we'll do some up front. We have some improvements we're making up front with the roadway expansion.
Mhm.
So we do an exploration there to make sure the borings are consistent with what we find, kind of the super detailed localized digging. Majority of those were done out back, those infiltration systems. Because when I talk to the geotech and they go out there and drill holes, the first call they'll make after they talk to Ethan to get them going is to me to make sure that they're digging holes where I want them to dig holes. Because there's no point in doing all that work if they're doing it in the wrong spot.
So you did one up front and the rest are back?
Majority out back. We've done, looking for the test pit logs on here to see if we have the test pits marked out. But we dug the majority of those test pits in those
Okay,
infiltration systems.
all right.
Frankly, I'm not going to stand complaint if I don't know what goes in the ground.
I just thought it was a contradiction, but thank you for explaining that.
I've been called worse.
Because your borings were all over the place.
Right. The borings are predominantly used to give us pavement design from the geotech and then any kind of structural support systems for the building foundation.
Oh, you know what, this also stuff is on the test pit.
What plan are they near the wetland, or the, not the wetlands,
Found some of them. Oh, there's one. It's hard because there's writing on top of them. There's 3.
Was the ground tested just that one day that you dug or bored holes, or how does that
2 were
work?
done.
So the drilling's usually done on one day, if they can accommodate it. And the test pits, we can do about 8 to 10 in a day if we don't hit anything weird. And the test pits were all done on, looking at the test pit logs right now, so I'm not lying to you. Test pit logs, I think they were done in summertime.
And it would obviously indicate if it was like a rain event or something like that.
And that's why we look for
Why?
that redox and the blading of the soils. That tells you historically what's going on. It doesn't tell you what happened.
Right.
If you dug a test pit that day and couldn't see it, you would know.
Yeah.
But the good thing is Derek's good at telling us what happened over time.
Okay.
The glacier moved across North America, yeah.
So it's not.
It's not a snapshot in time. You can actually go in there and look and tell what's happening historically.
Okay, cool. That's great.
the,
I know.
it's a little thing, but behind the building to the left. There's
So we have
a,
the grading plan?
yeah, just this plan right here.
Oh, yeah. Alright.
Sheet 4.
Yeah.
It's just a little thing, but you have a concrete pad, but it doesn't extend out like the other 2 do.
Oh, okay, yep.
Just as a, it seems like you would want to extend that out, because wouldn't that protect the asphalt from caving in from the weight of the garbage trucks going in and out of there?
Yeah, and yes, and then the pavement section's also been designed to accommodate that movement.
Okay.
But if you feel that appropriate.
Well, no, it's just an observation, because I would hate for that to be in a spot where water gets into and maybe causes issues that we're not thinking of. Like, there's another establishment in town that I know of that doesn't have the pavement, and there's massive ruts in front of their dumpsters.
Because it's really, you can see the compaction happening.
Oh, you could,
Yeah,
I mean,
tire marks.
You could drive a truck in there and it won't turn at all, because
Oh, really?
the ruts are that deep. And then there's a concrete pad where the dumpsters sit. Over years of 10, 15 years of trucks.
Heavy
going-
loading.
Yeah, and those trucks aren't light in the front, so.
No, they're not. The geotech gave us the pavement sections knowing that there's delivery vehicles and
Yeah, okay.
trash vehicle loading.
It's just more of an observation.
No, it's a good one. Once we'll
I hate to say it, but I shovel one of them, so.
Say what?
I shovel one of them in the wintertime, so I hit those ruts.
Oh, right.
I've hit them with a plow, and it's not fun.
No, but it gets a little shock to the vehicle, right?
Shock to the body. Did you change that fence to an 8-foot fence as the conservation? I couldn't read the writing. Oh, it does say,
Around the dumpster?
yeah, the conservation had requested.
Yeah, it's 8 behind closure on all those.
And that fence on the right side, the far right side, that thick line, is that an 8-foot fence too?
Yeah, 6-foot high white vinyl, hopefully we can go to 8.
I thought they had requested 8 on
I think
that.
those are on the traction closures, but I can put 8 there and I'm fine with that.
Look at the weird thing.
I thought they had said that, maybe.
Blame my hand, I just don't.
Why does the center, I just call it the drain out the back, have an 18-inch pipe instead of 12?
Just in terms of what we were controlling the hydraulics with.
So you're going to have more coming out that way?
The outlet control structure is the ultimate device which is controlling this, but we have, just the way I look at
Yeah,
it,
it's
we
right
have,
down here. You have 6-foot fences.
we have 12 that feed that, typically that system's probably the bigger of the three, so I have an 18-inch outlet. That's just the greater than design outflow, but the outlet control structure is the ultimate throttling device in that system. So I could put, not that I would do this, but I could put a 48-inch pipe there, it would still carry the same amount of water.
That's why go with the 18-inch?
I can make it 12 if it works.
No, I was just curious if there was a specific reason.
No, I don't expect to be pushing a lot of water, other than that's a bigger system and it's in those excessive storms. If there's something happening there, that's why I have a larger pipe in the middle.
Okay, so like a 100-year storm event or something?
I'm designed it for the 100, but there could be a
Okay.
500 or something. So,
Noah?
we got too, yeah. No one's have a different system problem. If we get bigger problems than an 18-inch pipe if Noah's coming around.
So I'm concerned about those extending into that steep slope, and then you're putting, so the stone swale is into that steep slope, right? And that's 10 feet?
I'm gonna take a note. I'm gonna show you, I think there's a detail that'll speak to this better than I will.
Yeah, 10 feet.
Sheet 5. That's something different.
So it's 10 by 10. 10 by 10. 10 wide, 10 wide.
So what we have done is we have, on the sheet, if you go to sheet 15, you'll see there's a flared end section with your wrap apron. And each one of those setups has a specific dimension for it. So you look at the, it's gonna have the width, the length, and then the size of the stone in there. And in some cases, these are between 15 and 18 feet long. They could be 14 feet wide and have stone with a diameter of approximately 9 inches. So those are not insignificant. The bigger the rock means that it's going to break that water faster. So that's what we're planning on doing. And then you kind of, you depress that into the slope, so when it comes out, it's got that little bit of a depression in a pool. You're familiar with this. And then the sizing is really based on the velocity that you expect in the higher storm events, which is why we size the stone to be about 9 inches, and then that apron size on the highest calculated potential outflow.
So again, I'm not an engineer or anything, but it just seems to me you have that, looks like a old plateau or before the steep slope. Why wouldn't you have had it come out on a flatter section?
So part of what I have to do so what we've done here, those chambers,
Mm-hmm.
the ones that we used to see, and you probably used to see in the yellow chambers, right? They're a certain size. These are they're bigger in size, which gives me a higher profile, which allows me to store more water in a smaller footprint,
Mhm.
but the trade-off is they're deeper. So in order for me to use taller profile structure and still make water go downhill via gravity, I need to get down to a certain elevation.
Oh,
So that's why that goes down the slope a little bit, so I can still make the water go downhill.
okay.
Is there any reason why those last two chambers on the right are shaded in the storm tech?
Right here, these,
Yeah.
yeah. So those are shaded because they're what's referred to as an isolator row. And the isolator row is a series of fabric wrapped chambers with very, very fine fabric that goes, lets water through, but it doesn't let sand through. And the impervious surface, the paved areas, are directed to that area first. So that any of that, if potential sediment is in the stormwater runoff, it goes in there and then bleeds that filter fabric.
And those get changed out in the regular maintenance plan?
What they do is they have access ports on the ends, and what they come in and they actually power wash the inside. They push all that sediment down to one end and a back truck pulls it out. The fabric is super high tensile strength, so it's not going to tear in power washing.
That was all in the structure.
It is a catch basin. So I'm looking at the two gravelled areas you made for the fire department's concerns to get the trucks around the back.
Which plan number are you on?
4. I just want to confirm that those black little rectangles are catch basins. I'm looking at the grading and drainage plan, and they appear to be catch basins.
They are.
Okay.
Not a bollard or anything.
And if I look at the site plan, is that curbing?
It is, but it's forward to reveal and it's beveled.
Okay,
So it's a mount
so
to
they
the
can
curb.
go up over it.
Do I only see one place for snow storage?
We talked about this at length.
Oh, I see some in the front there.
We talked about this at length with conservation.
This is kind of like the whole
So-
there from the conservation.
So what the commission actually asked us to do, originally, as everybody's kind of noted, we have a bit of a flat spot, a plateau on the back of the property. And we were gonna use some of anything that we would need for spillover snow storage. We had envisioned that flat spot, which is actually what happened on the gas offering that was in here a year and a half ago. That's the snow storage area. We have more parking than is required for the zoning ordinance. So the commission had expressed a strong desire for us not to use that area because they wanted the snow to be collected and melt on paved surface and then go to the stormwater system to be treated, rather than to push up the back road, just go down the hill unattenuated. So what we've done is we've reallocated the snow storage that was going to be on that flat spot to some of the parking spaces that are surplus and we don't expect to be highly utilized on the site plan to address that comment from the Concom.
And those are the little,
With clouds.
I see 1, 2, 3, 4 snow storage spaces, at least.
And there's some up front too on the larger landscape island.
Did you incorporate the engineer suggested and the downspouts from the building?
Yes.
That you did?
Yeah, if there's an ice block in there, the ability to overflow down, so yes.
Are the downspouts tied into the drainage system? or
They are. Yeah, and what happens if it goes onto the pavement, it'll go into a catch basin and get into the system. You got more, go ahead.
I did.
All
I
right.
was waiting to see if they were going to
I'm waiting for a question on our side. Do I at least get one of those?
Close.
All right.
the architectural landscape plan. So, I see the trees between the property and Morrison Avenue, thank you.
I'm catching up with you, hang on one second. Okay,
Not an arborvitae in sight.
no, we did that by design,
But
by request, I guess.
these will be pretty tall, mature trees when they grow.
They
These
will.
evergreens. And evergreens in the bottom are usually pretty sparse, if any branches, because the sun is not able to get through. Could other growth, rhododendrons, azaleas, or something that would grow under those pines be incorporated there to make more of a denser, eye-level, camouflaged area?
I think we could do that. These trees here are probably gonna take a very, very long time to get to the height that I have in my yard, where canopy might be 20 feet off the ground before you start seeing pine, before the branches start spreading out. But if there's some understory stuff, I'd be happy to entertain that as a condition. If the board felt that appropriate, where I go back and work with the landscape architect to incorporate some additional plantings in there to blend in, that would be under canopy plantings, something that might get up into the 3 or 4 foot height range. But I could do that. And ultimately, the plans that this board would endorse would be updated to have that. You could make it a condition to incorporate that.
And I believe the engineer suggested larger plantings of the trees.
They were talking specifically about this area in here.
Yep.
They wanted to go to some really, really large caliper plantings in there, which frankly are gonna actually eliminate some of the density in there. And if we're being honest, they're incredibly expensive. The expense to put in those really mature, high caliper trees is exponentially more costly than kind of what we think is appropriate here, where the top of those at planting height might be between 6 and 8 feet tall, which is approximately 2 feet higher than that retaining wall. So you're getting to the headlight height, and they're only going to get taller from there. So I think that strikes a good balance between what we're trying to achieve versus making this still a viable project.
What is the height of the proposed trees? Oh, they're inches, 36.
Those you're looking at shrubs and stuff like that. With the evergreen trees at planting height, they're going to be between 6 and 7 feet tall.
Oh, there they are. Austrian and Colorado, 6 to 7. So you really didn't implement everything the engineer suggested.
No, perhaps I was too cute with how I phrased that, but I don't disagree with their comment necessarily, but here it's striking a balance to still make this project come together.
Oh, we're on a raised berm. What is the elevation there? It looks like the property at that edge by Morrison is up higher than the elevation of Morrison Avenue. I can't tell you how many feet.
Which area are you looking at?
I was looking at the elevation difference between Morrison Avenue and the site.
Morrison Avenue down. If I can show you,
5
if
feet?
you look at, there's a structure there right here. The room on it. It's 41, I think.
Oh, 481, thank you.
And so the site grades in that area are going to be
So 4 feet.
correct, and the site's a little bit higher than that. It's the wall, that's why we do the wall, obviously, because it's a more significant grade break.
A little bit.
Well, the fence will take care of a lot of it.
Public comments.
The third-party engineer talks about a maintenance plan for the storm tech system after you've developed the site, not the stormwater management while construction is taking place, but after. I couldn't find that in,
It is in the back of the drainage report.
Yeah, I think if I may, it says something like it's Appendix J, but it's actually an Appendix F, I think, about 2/3 of the way through. It starts with some, it has schedule for inspection and maintenance during construction, schedule for inspection and maintenance after construction. It has a log form.
Oh, yeah, the copy doesn't have it in there, but there you go.
is this it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that document's going to refer to,
Prior to final site acceptance.
which you did,
So the only thing I see is that a minimum, the overall stormwater management system shall be inspected annually by the owner or representative of the owner to ensure that all systems are properly operating properly. Is that it?
Is that one page? Mind if I
No, go right ahead.
also want to make sure, because I don't have.
Could we entertain comments from the public?
So catch basins, et cetera, should be inspected quarterly, cleaned out on a biannual basis.
So we have two. Will be inspected on a quarterly basis.
So for those who didn't hear that, what that O&M plan in the back of the drainage report says is that you inspect them quarterly, and you clean them on a biannual basis. Typically, that's done in the spring after all the snow's gone and the sanding operations have been completed, and in the fall after the leaves come off the tree. That's usually when they do that stuff.
So can we add language to this that says that reports will be sent to the Tilton Land Use Office when this maintenance is done?
I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Just gonna take a moment. Is there any public comment?
I guess the only thing I'd add to the site is it's gonna be a dam site, better looking than what it looks like now, where it's just a car storage lot. So I think it's gonna significantly improve the entrance going into town.
No.
Any other comments? And we'll close the public comment.
On the maintenance system, the owner or representative of the owner of the property, so is the property going to remain under an ownership and then those sites leased? Or will each store
Correct.
be
So
individually owned?
each property will be individually owned. The tenants will be leasing building and the property from the owner.
So one owner for all the properties?
That's correct. Boscati Development will be the owner for the properties.
Okay.
The way that's set up is that some future day, the current owner sells the property. That document there doesn't preclude, it's the owner and not just the first owner. So that carries the property in perpetuity for as long as that's operating. That the owner has to maintain that system.
Of the property. Okay.
Correct.
Can you make sure that's in the minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So, we still have to send it back for a third, we're gonna send it back for
It has to
feedback.
be reviewed, yes.
Yeah,
That should be in the conditions.
we're gonna have
Well,
a
that's the first one.
third-party engineer
Yeah.
review. Right,
By the third party engineer. Or at least that's what I wrote down.
I did too.
I wrote it down.
All right, so, any other questions by the board?
That's
Yeah.
another note.
You have what?
I just want to answer them.
Well, we have two separate things we have to do here. We have to approve
3.
the three.
Well, there are 3 applications before you, a site plan review, a subdivision, and a conditional use permit.
I thought we did the site subdivision, though.
No, it hasn't been approved.
Oh, I thought we did that in December.
I think, No.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
We talked about a lot. We talked about the subdivision, but we never took action on the subdivision.
I honestly came in here thinking we had already subdivided it, so.
I'm happy to take an approval right now.
Well, I just,
So what's the third one, Dory? The site, the
Well,
subdivision, the site plan,
and
and
conditional use permit.
then...
You know, the subdivision plan, there would be a condition on that. We can get into that as we go, I guess, but, you know, that we don't have an actual subdivision suitable for recording at this point. So that could be one of the conditions. It could be a condition with both the site plan approval and I would recommend it, you know, if that were the direction the board was going, that it also be a condition with the site plan approval. The site plan cannot, you know, it's not necessarily approvable without the subdivision.
should we do it as three separate actions?
I recommend such, yeah.
On your notes?
Yes.
Any questions?
Oh, no, thank you. I'm looking for, so I do have one question. This property is partially in the what, groundwater protection?
Yes,
Is that what
That-
permits for?
that's what the conditional use part, yeah, right.
Yeah, so that's step number 2 or 3 or 1, depending what order we go in. Right? Right.
Conditional use in the subdivision
Site plan. We'll do that subdivision first.
So we're gonna look at this as a
Yeah.
subdivision first?
Yeah.
So, any question for subdivision now?
What's that?
We're gonna ask questions for subdivision now?
Ask questions for subdivision? Sure.
Sure.
I knew that was a loaded question.
Do that first.
So again, for the third-party engineer review, recommended that markers be put in,
Boundaries.
boundaries, corners.
Which comment was that specifically?
I'm trying to go to the, I just remember reading it in here,
I don't know, but I don't remember where.
that it did talk about installing. Monuments.
Customarily, what we do is we establish the boundaries along the right of way for DOT boundary. If the board's preference is for us to establish pins at back corners, you can do that too.
Customary, yes.
Number 11 on page 3, we recommend any approvals granted by the planning board occur subsequent to or be conditional upon installation of boundary monuments at all newly created lot corners in a manner sufficient to satisfy the requirements of section 6.3.1 of the subdivision regulations.
So, to that point, I'm happy to address that comment, we can do that. I put a little asterisk on it, the reason being is that these two front corners for the, we call it the leftmost lot, which would be north and east, in the center lot, that front corner is gonna be right in that right turn lane. And this property here, what DOT does, take perpetual easement over the property, it's not usually a land dedication or taking. I can't put any monumentation in the road, obviously, but I can establish that corner in the field. And then similarly, that corner is gonna be in the road, and that corner is gonna be in the driveway. But I can establish that corner with that line. I'm happy to do that where it's not gonna be in pavement. You don't want that boundary flush, you don't want to put up, so what I would suggest to do is put,
Do you think that would upset DOT?
it's up to me if I hit it, if there was rebar in the road, I can put a rebar in those back corners for you. Set that property corner.
It's usually how it's done, right?
What does our subdivision requires. This seems to specify that it requires
Was that
actual monument.
6.3.1?
6.3.1 of the subdivision regulations.
Monument.
Boundary monuments. I don't
Monument.
think rebar is a boundary
Monuments
monument.
for the external boundaries of the tract being
Well, yes.
subdivided and the lots are being created shall be placed not more than 1,000 feet apart in any straight line at all corners, at the beginning and end of all curves and all angle parts. Oh, type. Lots. At least one lot corner at the right of way shall be marked by a solid stone or concrete monument 4 by 4 by 36 inches. All other lot corners shall be marked by either a 1-inch diameter iron pipe or 5/8 inch diameter steel bar at least 30 inches in length, or a drill hole set in existing stone walls.
That's rebar or iron pipe.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
preference will do whatever.
Yeah.
Well, except for the corners for monuments, right?
Well, we just need them marked. I mean,
We need to follow the regulations in our ordinance. It does say boundary markers at corners.
Location, I'll read it again.
Some of these markers, some of these corners are already established boundary
Right,
markers.
but you have some that aren't.
Of course, no, right, that's what we're talking about.
Monuments for external boundaries of the tract being subdivided in the lots that are being created shall be placed not more,
So we could simply make a condition of the subdivision that you follow the regulations of the Tilton zoning ordinance 6.3.1.
The subdivision regulations, right?
Yes.
Except with the exception that I don't put granite boundaries in the middle of the lane, right? I just want to make sure it's clear, because the way that's written, when we all disappear 10 years from now, and somebody goes out there and says, why didn't you do that? Well, it's obvious to all of us, but it might not be obvious to somebody who,
50
yeah,
years from
can
now.
we use common sense in that case?
common sense is not applied in a lot of things.
I think it allows.
It'd make it more fun
to do
for
that.
traffic,
It definitely would, yes, definitely put that down.
making people slow down.
Just make sure you get the right names on the monument.
So we actually don't have a subdivision plan, right?
No, that's one of the conditions that we're gonna have.
So I guess if we look at the, what do you think, the demolition plan, is that the best one to look at for
Yeah.
the boundaries? No, it isn't.
I think this plan would be a good idea.
That site plan.
Got the site
4.
plan?
Yeah, site plan 4 will do it too.
Okay.
So what you're essentially doing is, so for lot 1, that western boundary, is that existing or is that new?
Let me go to the plan so I know a lot more. A lot more, okay. So this western boundary that runs,
Right there.
that's new, as is this boundary here.
Okay. Because this isn't showing me the existing.
The existing parcel is just the entire outer boundary that encompasses the 3.
That's two, isn't that two separate parcels right now? Where the little house is and where the lot, the little cars is? Isn't it 2 lots now, Darren?
I'm sorry, I was reading something. What's your question? Yeah, the whole site is 2 lots now.
Existing, it's 2 lots.
Yeah.
Right, so this plan here,
Which one is that?
this is the overall boundary plan in the back of the plan.
Do we have that?
You should,
Yeah, right.
Page number.
Last one.
that's the very last sheet.
Oh, no, that's,
That's not the subdivision plan, it's the existing survey to give you a bigger picture. This boundary here, that boundary gets extinguished.
But aren't you incorporating to the left, that lot into this as a whole?
Here,
To the left, to the east?
to this big piece here. Oh, no, this boundary right here, that's the whole entire property.
That is.
This boundary here gets extinguished.
this is the boundary right here.
Yeah.
That's it.
Where's the little house?
Little house is right here. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's right in here, yeah.
Where? Where?
Yeah, just look at the picture, how was that?
So if you look here,
So, here's the little house.
so here's
Okay, cool.
the little house right here, and that boundary is right here.
Like that.
With the piece?
This little house.
Oh, thank you.
Got it right? The little house, this lot we're talking about, and the middle lot.
So it's 1 lot.
There's a line,
No.
Now,
there's a line that runs in.
No, it's 2 lots right now.
This
It's 2
line
lots
here,
right now.
This gets extinguished.
right, but right now, today, that's 2 lots.
Correct. And final approval of the subdivision plan.
Okay, so that's why I'm saying, is that the existing boundary of that
This is-
second lot?
This here?
Yeah,
It is not.
it is not,
Correct.
okay.
So if you were to approve the subdivision plan, you'd essentially be extinguishing that interior line and then recreating this.
How can we approve a subdivision plan we don't have?
So the reason you have a subdivision plan, there were comments in peer review letter which asked that we put easements on the plan to facilitate the cross access and any of the utility corridors that are required for upside down. That's on camera too. There's these cross access agreements across the property. So before I went and had the surveyor spend a lot of money to do that, for months, I wanted to make sure that we were collectively in agreement with the features here. That's an easy thing for them to do now that I know that this plan is locked in. The plan that I'm going to give to the planning board as a condition of your approval would be the subdivision plan that is to New Hampshire state recording standards. It shows any of the requisite easements for that cross access as well as utility. And then that plan is prepared. When you get it, you know that it's representative of the things we talked about here. The subdivision plan and our approval for site plan couldn't be vetted until you get that plan. That plan subsequently recorded, and I provide you with receipt of it having been recorded.
So if we do anything tonight, you're gonna get a whole bunch of conditional approvals?
Yes. And then, trust me, I have never gotten an approval that has not been conditioned anywhere I've ever been. The day I do is the day I'm retired.
I don't know, is that
Hopefully it's
good?
sooner than later.
Conditional subdivision approval?
We don't do many subdivisions.
I know, but that's why I don't remember doing one that's
Yeah.
conditional.
But I do think that most of the conditions would probably be more appropriately attached to the site plan review, obviously, the site plan approval.
Yeah. Boundary. That's a subdivision one. I don't believe he's good. So maybe it's easier if I ask you, are the recommendations he made as it pertains to the subdivision that you don't feel need to be part of it? Besides the monument and the Route 3 thing?
Right.
But is there anything else that you feel is inappropriate or unnecessary, I should say?
Let me go and find, I'm going through, my letter looks a little bit different than yours in that mine is my response letter. So you could help me navigate to where specifically you are looking?
Planning and design matters talks about 7. No, that's, he's talking about as it pertains to the site plan.
Let's use comment 9 as an example where it says
Again,
that we provide you with a plan of the final subdivision plat suitable for recording, which is what I just talked about. So I will give you a plan that is suitable for recording to endorse, so that we can then go record it. And similarly, what I also, in that same vein, I wanted to make sure we were comfortable with layout and site plan items. So that plan will show the easements on there as well for cross-access and utility corridors. That's comment number 10. And then comment number 12 is what I referred to. Our coordination with DOT suggests that their preferred mechanism right now for the deceleration on the project frontage be held in a easement rather than a taking. So that plan needs to get put together for them as well.
so you're all set with those recommendations?
Yeah, that's fine. So those are fairly customary.
Now, we went through, if I remember correctly, you're not having, there aren't any outside speakers.
There are outdoor.
I mean, at the drive-through, there's.
Correct, but those are internally directed.
That's, yeah,
Yeah.
those are minimal. I'm talking about anything loud that's gonna disturb residents right next to the site.
No,
While your light appears to be downcast,
correct.
the light poles on the western side, I believe some of those were the tallest lights, are they not?
You take a look.
I've looked at too many of these prints.
This may be the first time I've done a review of the board where plans are both literally and figuratively being looked at under a microscope. plans on the west side of the property, we have a mounting height of 15 feet,
The number, what page number is your lighting plan?
12.
Okay. So, if I remember correctly, when I looked at this, the tallest ones are 15 footers.
Oh, I'm sorry, we have 24 foot mounting heights on that side. So it's 24 foot mounting height, so it's essentially a 21 foot pole on a 3 foot base.
I've got mounting heights 15, 15, 15, 7.5, 7.5, 14, and 14.
Correct.
You have 24 feet?
I was looking right here, so, just so.
Yeah, it's like a surety bond.
I think what these are referring to.
That's a 24-inch high concrete base.
24. Oh, no, correct, okay, so, yeah, I read that wrong, I'm sorry. It's
I've
15
made
foot-
hundreds of them.
15 foot mounting height on a 24 foot high concrete base.
Yes. So essentially, you're looking at 17 feet of height in these poles.
15, so the pole will be 13 feet tall. So the mounting height is measured to finished grade, not.
Oh, it is finished grade?
Correct.
Okay, so 13, so 15 is the
The luminary
highest,
height.
okay. Oh, all right, that's not that high. Now, are these lights on all night?
No.
So is the site completely dark?
No. So what happens is, when these businesses are done
Yep.
operating, typically what happens is the lights are going to remain on for a period of time while employees finish out
Sure.
the facility lockdown. And then it'll go to security level lighting. And security level lighting, usually pole mounted lights are turned off. And then there will be select lights around the perimeter of the building that remain on, to provide illumination around the building itself, so that's not a dark spot. It's usually not every single wall pack, but a handful remain on over doors, entryways, select features of the building. But by and large, the site lighting will go off. There will be a select poles if there's spots like here that could be dark.
Like maybe at the entrance they might stay on?
Correct, yeah, but for the most part, the lighting is turned off at security level.
So you said usually and for the most part, but you didn't say definitively, those lights on the poles on the western side by Morrison will be off.
Depends on the hours of operation, like I said.
I'm just talking at night, so,
If that store is open, those poles will be on. If it's not open, they'll go off. Ethan and I can talk to operations to make sure that if there are select poles here, when the store's off, or the store's off, the store's closed, we could make poles along the western side go off.
is there any anticipation that that's gonna be a 24-hour facility?
I don't know right now, we haven't gotten to that point with the tenant yet.
If it is there any type of shield that could be put on the back part of the light that may drop some of that?
We've designed it to be shielded and cut off.
Pardon?
We have designed those lights to be shielded and cut off, so it has the back out shield on it.
It does have the back shield on them?
Correct. Yeah, that's why you'll see the lighting levels, if you can see it. You'll see a fairly good distribution immediately under it and in front of it, and you'll see it cut off sharply behind it.
I think we had that as an issue when that was going to be another proposal,
We did.
and that's,
So-
you designed it that way.
Yeah, I learned from past.
Both the sound and the lighting were concerns before.
Yeah, we
Correct.
talked about
Yeah.
that.
And I know they specifically went over that when we had it for another proposal, those lights on that Morrison Avenue.
They have back out shields on
And the
them.
speakers and the hours of operation.
Yeah, that was a big.
So those lights, even if they are on the back out shield.
Yeah, I was looking at this thing here.
What do you mean by back house?
So that's just a representation of the fixture.
Yeah,
A back out shield is going to be the guard that comes down, so if there's any light, when this thing throws light, they're forward throw,
yeah.
but that back out shield kind of comes down to block any light that could bleed backwards. Think of a mirror behind the light and it comes down like.
So,
There's so many
so it's
people.
not pictured here. Oh,
Correct. That's just to give you an example of the fixture, but
Oh, okay, I was
that's
just
kind of a-
curious what it looked like.
Oh, it is?
and you'll see some
Well,
poles that
it's
look like
part of
this.
this is the third party.
Here's your light
Confirmation of
picture,
third party.
and there's your pole coming down. And that back out shield looks like
Response is
this.
confirmed by third party engineer.
I have two.
It's some older styles.
We've got,
Depends on
we've got one,
what it has to be ultimately is that the
four, five,
manufacturer
six.
is compatible with the fixture. So we can tell
Two
them
that
when
starred.
he's planning to go out to a contractor.
One of them's, the bottom one's
That spec
subdivision.
number,
So this is
the
also.
fixture type in here, that model number refers to the one we're back out to.
Okay, thanks.
That'd be more for site plan, not subdivision, then subdivision regulation 6 months and other lines. That's for the subdivision.
Right.
The
We're
groundwater
gonna
doesn't have
split
any
the
condition.
having the subdivision, we're gonna put that within the site, the conditions.
It's three different
Okay.
approvals that we have to go through. Right, Dari, we have three different conditions, three different approvals.
So, I mean, 3 different applications, yeah, it's probably, I mean, it's certainly maybe the cleanest way of doing it.
Yeah. So don't get confused.
Okay. If we're let us know if we're confusing this, okay?
Okay,
All right, so the first one is gonna be for the site plan review.
No, we have
Oh,
to
for the
subdivide.
subdivision, okay.
You've got to subdivide it before you can approve the site
Okay.
plan.
So is there any more discussion by the board?
No.
All right, I'll entertain some type of motion for, I guess the first thing we're gonna tackle is the subdivision,
yeah.
the subdivision of this lot, 8096 East Main Street.
But I can't accept the subdivision that doesn't exist. He's gonna do that after we do the site plans, supposedly.
Well, plan, I think.
So I had, can we have that as a condition of the site plan? Or no? No.
yeah, you could, and I think you should, I think.
I was gonna say, because
But-
that's what he plans to,
However, I think, you know, if you don't make some sort of motion that includes approval of subdivision tonight, then that will remain, you know, something that needs to be done. You know, we
What
really
we-
haven't reviewed it. We haven't reviewed it, you know, with an eye toward the possibility that it wouldn't be subdivided, so I can't say that it would meet all requirements if it weren't subdivided. You know, I don't necessarily think I think you could make a motion to approve the subdivision. The concept is certainly before you. There,
Okay.
you do have a diagram with boundary lines, and the conditional approval, maybe the only conditional approval that's needed for the well, I won't say that. But anyway, conditional approval for the subdivision would, you know, include that they provide a plan suitable for recording.
Yep,
okay.
And then also completion of,
with the, yeah,
and then also this subdivision regulation 6.3.1,
so conditional approval of the subdivision.
conditional.
And he has.
Right, Judy, I thank Judy for this.
All right, let me try this then. I will make a motion for a conditional subdivision plan approval with the conditions that a subdivision plan be submitted to show easements as recommended by the third party, boundaries, monuments, plantings, and in accordance with subdivision regulation 6.31. Okay?
The only thing that could be tricky is the plantings. I don't customarily see, but
Yeah,
plantings.
Yeah, the landscaping's on the site plan, not on
All right.
the subdivision. The subdivision is what it is,
That's what I was gonna say something.
Okay.
just the
All right.
native plantings.
So omit the planting.
So,
And maybe if you're revising, maybe just to add some wording suitable for recording, something like that.
Okay, and those are to be, that is to be suitable for recording.
second,
Any discussion? No. All those in favor?
aye.
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 Yes.
Yes, all right.
Any opposed?
Any opposed?
Thanks.
No.
Just wanted to
Uncomfortable,
make sure.
yes?
No one opposed, I said no, I meant no. All right, second part is the,
Site plan.
no groundwater. Which order should groundwater come second or third, Dari?
You can do it right now, that's fine.
Let's do that one.
The
Groundwater,
conditional use permit.
Conditional use permit, groundwater protection district.
So, you just make a motion to, is that what we're doing? Just make a motion to approve a groundwater protection permit for conditional use permit in the groundwater protection district.
All right. Is there a second?
I second it.
Any discussion?
Has this been reviewed by the Conservation Commission?
Yeah, the entire application has been before the Conservation Commission.
We have a write-up,
Yeah.
Catherine.
I was at their meeting.
We have a write-up.
Yeah, it's been
It was
out
sent
there.
by Dawn.
I have write-up, but
Motion and
Right,
second.
so,
I was discussing.
Discussion. Yeah, they had, I was at that meeting and the whole plan was presented.
I remember talking about the permit.
I don't know when they didn't bring it up. It wasn't questioned.
I don't think there was any discussion on the permit.
They're right here, because actually part of it was
protection permit.
the snow storage was an issue because of the groundwater
Before the
protection.
conservation.
And number 3 of their response, right here.
But I don't think
There was, that was their only issue about groundwater protection was
If
snow
that was
storage.
on, that was, okay, I'm talking specifically on the plan.
We appeared in front of the Conservation Commission.
We were there.
Okay.
And we have a write-up from them too.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, so.
No, that doesn't say anything in here about this permit.
I think we were asked to go in front of the Conservation Commission at this board's direction because of your review of that conditional use permit.
Yeah, I think just, maybe we can close this. I mean, the zoning ordinance speaks to its prior, specific to conditional use permits. Actually, excuse me, that's in the wetlands. I think it's the same in the groundwater. Sorry. In wetlands, it says prior to making a decision, the planning board shall afford the Conservation Commission an opportunity to provide comment and shall consider any such comments provided. So that, you know, I'm trying to look for the same comment in groundwater. I'm not seeing it right now. Conditional use permit. I don't see a similar comment under groundwater. But certainly this was submitted to the Conservation Commission.
The application itself,
Excuse me.
The entirety of
The
the
permit.
application.
was the permit sent to them?
Everything's been sent to them. They get, you know, full notice of all
I
material.
was just surprised that they didn't discuss it or bring it up.
They got the GSI technical report as well as,
All right, well, can we have a vote then?
Question to call. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I'm going to decline to vote.
Decline to vote. 1. Opposed? None.
And that's not an abstention. I decline to vote.
Okay.
I'm not comfortable with that permit.
What is it? The four-member panel?
Yeah, I remember what it was. There was something that was sort of nagging, like, there's something about 4 members. And there was a time when we didn't have a full 7-member board, and so it was relating directly to this statement in the rules of procedure. Quorum for all regular business shall consist of 4 members of the board. So we have 4 members. I believe you need a majority of the votes of the people who are here tonight.
Okay. I'm just making sure.
Yeah, no, I understand. I appreciate your concern.
All right, and then last but not least, site plan. I'll entertain a motion on site plan.
I'll make a motion to accept the site plan review with the following conditions. That the response,
Conditional approval. That's a conditional approval of the site plans with these conditions.
yeah, that the response be verified by a third-party engineer, that all state, local, and federal permits be submitted, that the subdivision plan be submitted showing easements as recommended by the third party, boundaries, monuments, that the wetland,
And boundaries and
that the wetland scientist stamp the site and the subdivision plan, that there's a financial survey,
Surety.
Surety.
a surety, okay, and that a report on the maintenance plan be submitted to the land use office,
For stormwater, correct?
yeah, for stormwater, and that plantings, more plantings at Morrison Avenue under the canopy.
in the maintenance for the stormwater drainage system, that those quarterly and annual reports be sent to the,
I said that,
Tilton
Yeah.
Land Use Office.
yes.
I know, Ari, we're shorthanding these, but I'm sure you captured the more formal language for it, the decision.
I'm using notes and then I'll use the videotape to get the actual language. Sorry.
Where you cite the boundaries and monuments, can we add the subdivision regulation 6.3.1 as per?
Okay.
Do we put the understanding that there's nothing on the DOT? Do we have to specify that?
In the road.
No, I
Yeah.
think that's
If
pretty,
we-
that's just,
If we did,
Logical.
well, we had
That's
them,
common sense.
One would think.
I did say common sense.
I would say that when they submitted when we said that they were gonna submit a subway plan,
Yes,
a
but this
subdivision
is
plan.
now the site plan, and you did say in there
Yeah.
that they will have boundary markers, so
Yeah.
we're going to have them on the site plan. It's going to be as per 6.3.1 of the subdivision.
You read that?
Good.
Okay.
Oh, second. I second that.
Got all that?
Yeah.
I have them written down too, Dari, if you need it later.
Okay.
So does Eric.
Yeah, no, they match what
All right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Okay.
So
Thank you very much.
You are conditionally approved.
I appreciate it very much.
Conditionally.
Conditionally.
I intend to satisfy those conditions.
Conditionally.
No arborvitae.
Wow.
Conditionally.
That's what I felt.
What's with the arborvitae anyway? What do you?
They're ugly.
They're ugly and they grow out of control.
So the only one that's indigenous to this state is
Use bittersweet.
swamp arborvitae.
It's a condemned plant.
They live in there.
Yeah.
All right, this is School Street, School Street.
Wherever my foot
I'm gonna
was.
go back to mine.
Kevin, are you ready?
Hold on, we got,
You sure?
so,
Nice job.
all right, moving on. Let's take a minute and a half break.
Matt?
Okay.
Get your stuff situated.
Everybody's waiting for this project we just conditionally approved.
What's your timeline on that, by the way?
Once we stay on the sewer connection and operation and drain permit, I'd imagine we'll be ready to go mid-spring or the summer, and then we'll flip it around pretty quick.
Yeah. There's a lot of people
A
looking.
lot of people are anxious.
Oh, my.
I'm sure we'll see you again for something else.
Thank you.
Safe travels back to Parks Unknown.
Karen, I haven't brought these. You have to take.
I have my little trash can right there, so please feel free to come over here.
You hear me, Ken? What? You brought these. You have to take our trash.
All right. You all set, Ari?
Yes, thank you.
All right. You guys all set? Moving right along. Case 1802, subdivision and site plan review. Is this a continuation or is this a,
This is a continuation.
oh, it just didn't say continuation on here.
Oh, sorry.
No, I just was thinking, oh man, where's the application? Subdivision and site plan, so we're gonna say continuation of a subdivision and site plan review proposal from Kevin Lacasse.
Yep.
So, thank you. To develop a 24-unit cluster subdivision at School Street and Country Meadows Drive in the Rural Agricultural District, R13/8. Oh, look at that color. Color.
Yeah. Maybe I don't.
So this is this goes over here because that's what happened. This is 80. Main Street, that's 80. Moving right along. Did you get a copy of the color?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You have your magnifying glass on?
I got it right here.
It's covered up, it's not really.
Oh, I just protecting the lens.
All right.
I also brought a full-size set of plans in case anybody wants those.
Can I just ask you to move that like 3 feet, 3, 4 feet closer? Or actually, as long as the audience can see it too. Or just, yeah, turn it a little bit so they can
have
see.
the audience move.
Yeah, no, just so they can see it too, because I'm sure they want to see it. Watch out for you guys. It's not every day we get an audience. All right, so I guess we will, everyone get a chance to review the third-party response? Everyone get a chance to read the comments of the Conservation Commission? Did you guys get?
I did not get the Conservation Commission.
All right. Oh.
Did they go with the Conservation Commission?
Yeah, they went, in January. They met. Oh, I don't know, do we know if they went before the
It'd be next Monday.
Next Monday? Okay.
next Monday?
Third Monday.
I will not be able to attend that.
I will, just remind me, Kathy.
I will be in out of state.
Yes. Kathy, remind me to go to that conservation meeting with you.
All right.
Please. Text me.
I just wrote your name on my hand.
I'll put it on my calendar when I get home, but I
Slow starter.
Put it in my phone. Doesn't alarm. Perhaps you could get over what changes you have made.
Just gonna ask, what changes have occurred? It looks like you moved the road a little bit.
No, but I'd be happy to start if you guys ready.
Yes.
Would you like me to do a quick overview, because I don't think we've ever had.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, could we first know what changes you've made between the two prints?
Yes.
Can we do that?
Yes.
Then I'll stop looking at both of them.
The primary change was in response to some of the comments from the Conservation Commission
Okay.
about the impact to the wetland along School Street. So it's more of a technical change, was we deepened the pond and moved it a little further away from the wetland. So it's not very apparent what that change is on the plan, but that's,
What page is that on? Grading and drainage. Sheet 9, grading and drainage.
partially, but a lot of it would be on sheet 22 of 29, just in the pond, just a foot deeper now for the pond number 1, which is actually not 22. Yeah, page 21 of 29, it shows a detail of the pond, and the pond is a little bit lower, and we moved it a little bit further away from the wetland.
Wow.
How much deeper did it go?
Not much.
Did you say you were gonna go do an overall?
If we're ready, yeah.
Okay.
I have a feeling we're not this.
What was that, 21 of 29?
Yes,
Yeah.
21.
Oh, I'm just trying to bookmark it so I can refer to it. Dog ear, don't ever dog ear a book, but.
Yeah, you got here though. Would you like me to start with the overall?
Absolutely.
Yes.
My name is Ken Brown, and I'm here representing Kevin McCass and his application for a 24-lot cluster subdivision on a piece of property along School Street here in Tilton. The subdivision will be served by a private road with Cape Cod berms and a sidewalk on one side of the road. The water will come from a community water system that's located here on Country Meadows, and will be expanded to be able to provide the water for the project, as well as for the Country Meadows mobile home park. The sewer is proposed to be 3 community septic systems, located approximately here and here and here. Each one will serve 8 of the homes. The drainage is this site. The site is kind of pictured on top of a hill, so everything goes in two major directions, one towards Lane Brook and one towards this wetland that is fed by a culvert from across the street and flows down and works its way down into these wetlands here. The drainage up here is to be controlled by a gravel wetland. It will be installed adjacent to the wetland, and that will help us control the flow rates and volumes of water going there. The water that's coming down to Lane Brook is going to be controlled by a gravel wetland in the detention area in here. And that's our two main controls for the wetlands. We've chosen the gravel wetland for the stormwater management practice because it provides not only an excellent stormwater control, but also treatment for the stormwater. What it does better than most of the other systems is that first flush, the 1 year storm, is roughly 70% of the storms we get, is the storm that washes the salts and the oils and things off the pavement. And so it's set up to store that in the gravel portion of the wetland so that it has a chance to sit and be treated before the next storm comes. Let's see, where did I look? As part of this application, we're going to ask the board to waive the minimum road width from 24 feet to 20 feet. We believe that there's three reasons to do that. The first is that the road does not connect to any other roads in town, so it's not a through street. It's a private road, and adequate parking will be provided in each home, so there will be a minimum of 2 spaces provided in the driveway for each home, so we don't anticipate anybody trying to park on the side of the road. We believe that the reduced width will help to reduce speed through the subdivision and control that so people aren't going as fast. And the fire department has reviewed the turning movements and have been approved with what we have here. We will also be asking for a conditional use permit for the grading that's going to be done adjacent to this, the gravel wetland that we just looked at on page 21. And we've shown where the 20-foot setback is. And it's really grading that occurs. It's really at the toe of the slope for the berm that is created by the wetland. So it's none of the actual wetland where any of the water would be or any of the structures. It's just the grading on the outside. An AOT permit will be required for this project and has been applied for. The DOT driveway permit is required for access onto School Street because it's a state-controlled road. We've applied for that and they've granted that driveway access. The condition being that this existing access be blocked off. It's in a really bad spot. We looked at using it for our primary access originally, and it doesn't have adequate sight distance. The DOT said if we'll block that off, they'll give us the driveway there.
Is that the old logging road? Okay.
And then state subdivision approval will be applied for, and we're waiting to get through this meeting a little bit further down the road before we apply for that. That's the basic overview of the project, so I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Did you address any of the suggestions from the third-party review?
I have not. I only got those this morning, so I haven't had a chance.
We just got them too, Ken.
Oh, that's right. This is the ones that
I
just
have
came in.
read them and I've spoken to Mr. Keach, and I think that all of them are addressable.
The septic systems?
Yeah. Something else.
Approximately how many feet from that existing logging road going towards Country Meadows is that entrance to that road now? Is it 100 feet, 150, excuse me? Is it 150 feet?
That's a good question. I would say it's about 220 feet. Not bad. No, maybe less. No, maybe 125 feet.
Yeah. I go by it every day, almost every day, so I just,
Yeah, where we picked for the driveway access is a very good site distance in both directions. One of the comments that Mr. Keach made was about the roadway radiuses, and that would be part of our waiver request for the reduction in the width. We're looking at this as a basically cul-de-sac, and those radiuses are consistent with that, and the turn movements work fine, and fire chief looked at it, so that's how we'll address that.
We don't have anything from the fire department yet that says they have looked at this.
Yes,
It says it must be confirmed that all TNFD vehicles can maneuver through the area.
and then we did that, and they approved
Okay, I don't know that I've gotten that letter, but
Oh.
I'll make sure to follow up.
it. You were copied on it.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it was sent to you, and I was copied on it.
Oh,
That's
okay.
why I didn't forward it to you, because I assumed you had it.
Okay, to be honest, I may have even forwarded to the plan, I don't know, I'll,
Okay. No, we
have
do
it
have it,
ready,
I'll make sure
yeah,
it's in the
okay.
package for the next.
did we get that one?
I thought we had it.
I mean,
Not tonight, I think we got it before then.
Oh,
I thought.
I mean, most likely, usually when I get something like that, I just quickly forward it on to the board, but I can certainly, if you want, I can get a copy of it right now, or we could address it later. So do you do want a copy of it now?
Oh, no, no. It's-
Okay.
Do you remember seeing it, Darby, or?
I mean, I've seen
There's
so
so
many
much.
letters
I
from
thought I
Tim
saw it, but I
lately.
could be wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how we can possibly approve this.
Remember what it was called?
Forwarded to you.
that's fine.
Fire truck turning radius?
It would be from Tim Joubert, would be
Yeah.
something.
If you guys want, I'll have it for you in a moment.
Tilton Mill Food Fire District.
Yes, please do. We have,
You have this one?
I know, it's a little, let's see.
Do you have that on that plan, Tim? FT1? Because this is where you address the turning radius.
I don't see it, I'm just looking at my phone. No.
Probably
Oh, right here.
And you know what, it probably not.
What's your email?
I don't see it either, I thought there was, but I don't see it in my emails.
Either way, I just
Clustered it up.
provide this on.
You guys stop at a specific time.
8:30, sorry.
We make a motion that we start at
And we're doing
More
cold
populated area.
development.
No?
So you guys used to go pretty
Yeah,
late.
it's not mine.
Sometimes these days, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like not
Change bedtime now.
Oh.
What I do?
Nothing.
You said I did that.
No, it's your bedtime.
It's my bedtime.
I know.
Yeah, that should be the.
Yes, we had this cut off at the time, I said 8:30.
I'm up all night, I'm up later than you are, believe me.
I go to bed at 9:30.
Don't go to 8.
All right, so does that mean
It's your
you
age.
gotta get a,
I had a tea.
On here.
I'll probably be up
not
until
supposed to be ice.
I had coffee, but I said, real
for
coffee?
1 o'clock.
Here in here, does it say how far septic system will be from the wetlands? We could find it now.
What section are you in? Frank?
I just,
That's 7. Oh.
is it in the sevens?
In the it's on the overlay.
Wow, they just went from 4 to 8.
No, someone took 7. Well, that's not good.
7.8,
Alright.
page 49.
I think
Did you say page 49?
Well, this is just in the subdivision.
Oh, you're in subdivision?
Yeah.
But it just, basically just says sanitary
It's
sewer
in the
system.
zone.
Oh, look at that.
Conservation overlay.
Yeah, subdivision.
There's special provisions,
Uh-huh.
and I missed it the first time, and this interpreter, so that's how that note came up on Mr. Keach's review, which I spent quite a bit of time looking at. I think we can address it.
Yeah.
Page 37 is a reference to water and sewer.
You found it?
No, I read it. When I switched last year to new ordinance, I didn't bring all my
You're in the zone.
things.
Or you sub-
I'm in subdivision
Do you
now.
want to? I mean,
Yeah.
this is it, so.
Oh, it's in there. I just thought it'd be easier to find it in subdivision.
It's not in some-
Darby, where in this here does it talk about septic systems? Says,
The setbacks to them?
oh, this one's subdivision. Setbacks.
I mean, that particular 125 foot is in wetlands. Yeah, in the wetlands, section.
It's in the back.
Yeah. 55, page 55.
That's it. Not much to that.
Oh, I okay. Because you guys, yeah, right.
I don't see it. One more, or it's under, the heading is special provisions.
How do I find?
Right there.
Well, and here's the confusion. Because what it says is, No septic tank or leach field may be constructed or enlarged for a more intensive use closer than 125 feet to the wetland. So when I read that, and because it's hidden under a section called special provisions, I read that to mean that if you were taking like a 2-bedroom system in the lake
Yeah.
and you were making a 4-bedroom system, it had to be 125 feet wetland, because we often do these enlargement projects for lake
Yeah,
houses.
I could say you could do that.
And I got confused
Yeah.
and read it wrong.
No septic tank and leach field may be constructed closer
Or
than 125 feet.
Period.
No septic tank or leach field may be enlarged for more intensive use closer than 50. Yeah, you can do that. That would be, yeah.
So,
Okay.
that's
But it is
where-
125.
yeah. So, I'm on it. Not happy about it,
So the septic plans that you have in here now are too close to the wetlands?
Oh, yeah.
So, we don't know how that's gonna. Where do you see the road width in here?
is there a typical section of detail portion
Trying to visualize 20 feet.
page 23? At the top left, the detail, cross-section of typical roadway.
Yeah, but I'm just,
On the plan view, is it shown?
I just don't see it clearly stated where the road is.
Probably, it may not be.
But my concern is, if we have I'm just using an example, if this is a 20-foot road, and you have a car parked, if someone's having a party in the first house, and you have an emergency back here, and there's cars there, how is the fire equipment, is that gonna be wide enough, and do we get that confirmation from the fire department that that would be the case? That would be wide enough for all, whatever fire equipment we have in town to get back there?
Drew, don't these developments usually have like a visitor parking sort of area?
Well, it has been, but it's, I just want to make sure that they realize that it's a 20-foot road versus a 24-foot road.
They go out there, they can issue different.
It's not, doesn't exist though.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Well,
What doesn't,
The road doesn't exist, it's only on a piece of paper.
We find that the 24-foot road just encourages too fast traffic for a residential area, and it works better at 20. And yeah, if you plug up the road with a lot of people parking on both sides of the street, you're gonna have a problem, but there is adequate parking for each home. There's a minimum of.
I understand that, but if I'm having a graduation party and I have 30 relatives over,
Well,
And I'm having a barbecue and I'm 3 houses down.
yeah,
kind of like where you live now, Eric.
yeah, and
but they increase that much impervious area and the upgrade of the people driving faster, which they do.
but there's a reason why we have it as 24 feet.
For a what if is a little, that's strong. So that's all I'm saying is every time it rains, there's more impervious area. Every time someone drives through there, they tend to drive a little faster, every single time. So somebody has a graduation party and a barbecue, there's parking in the driveways, stay out of the road.
But that's only for 2 cars.
Well, how many cars would we make a parking lot for?
Well, I'm trying to make sure that our emergency services can get that house down
Make
here.
friends, so nobody shows up to my parties, so.
I know, but I want to be able to make sure that our fire department can confirm that that is,
I will send that question to him directly, just to make sure that he saw that it was 20 feet.
and I just,
Well, or, I was in one of these types of developments and they have a small visitor parking area.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
maybe,
that might be
I don't
have concerns about that stormwater management basin #1. Is that what the right word is? Stormwater management basin.
What was the question?
I've driven by there a few times, kind of eyeballing it. It's above the road, and I'm concerned that, how do we know that, and I know that was kind of an issue brought up with the Conservation Commission of, is that gonna flood over onto School Street? But it looks like you made it deeper. How many more feet did you?
1 foot.
So what's that increase the capacity from 10,000 to 12,000 gallons? I mean, I don't know.
The thing is that you're right in that this wetland, which is really weird, is like, it looks like it's above the road almost, but there is a culvert that comes across it. We're trying to intercept this water before it goes in there. So we're making a small berm, I think it's 4 feet high, right in front of it and then into it. But the basin itself is really not much of any, if any, higher than the wetland. There isn't this gargantuan body of water pooled in there that's going to explode through this and flood School Street. And so the only way we can do it to intercept it is to put a berm in between where we are and the wetlands so that we can, detain it. But to address their comments, we did enlarge it so that we could further reduce the runoff into that wetland, which I think was a big concern of Mr. Wadley's.
Well, you have a lot of impervious surfaces here. The roofs, the asphalt. So you're definitely changing the way water moves on the site.
Right.
How are you treating it before it gets into these ponds? Is it just, and is there ditching alongside the road? How are you handling the water from the road? I don't see it. I see some catch basins, but not many.
Yeah, there doesn't need to be that many. We are using them where we need to. There's some ditching involved. The gravel wetlands are excellent stormwater practice for treatment, as I talked about in the overview. And that, so that in those cases, the water does not have to be treated before it goes into those, because they are in fact treatment systems.
A graveled wetland is a treatment system.
Yes.
In what way? How does it prevent oil from getting into the wetland?
What it does is the bottom of the pond is wetland soil mix. Then below that is like a choker course to keep that mix from getting into the gravel. Then below that is gravel, like 3/4 inch stone. What happens is when you have those first flushes, the 1 inch storms that we get, the 70% of the rain that we get that washes that kind of stuff off the pavement, it goes in through vertical pipes into that gravel. The gravel is set up so that it's below the water table, so it tends to stay wet. It stays there until the next storm comes, and as that storm comes, it pushes that water out. There's like a siphon that comes out of it. It pushes that water out to the outlet structure. The process of keeping it in that gravel mix is where the treatment is coming from, anaerobic decay. So UNH Stormwater Center built one of these, I think it was about 10 or 12 years ago. And they've been monitoring that along with wet ponds, storm tech systems, all kinds of different systems. And to date, they rate the gravel wetland as the best treatment system available that they have tested.
For specifically oil? Petroleum products? Because oil floats on water.
oil, nitrates, phosphates. I can send you some literature if you'd like to read up on it, or you can actually go onto their website. So if you type in UNH Stormwater Center,
I've been there, thank you.
that's where you can learn more about it.
But the pond doesn't stay wet though, right? I mean, it absorbs down in
Right,
through.
not above the ground, but just under the ground stays wet.
Do you know if how that differs from like a rain garden, what they call a rain?
Yeah, rain garden is like a bioretention area where you have plants helping break down the pollutants that are in the runoff. This isn't doing it with vegetation, it's doing it with storage of water and then flushing it out
Ah, okay.
during other storms after it's had a chance to kind of stop, break down, then it gets flushed back out.
I'm also going to take the time now to also open it up to the public, if there's anyone here from the public that would have any questions.
I've got a question.
Okay, if you could just state your name so Dara can put that in the record as well.
My name's Rick Baudet. I live at Sage Drive in Country Meadows. One of my biggest concern is and I'm only going by the print that I saw, which was pretty small. Where they're tying in the water main onto the branch in front of our house, I'm just concerned about where they're tying in, where there'll be the pressure in the volume. I mean, you're going to be adding, I don't even know what size pipe it is, first of all, but it just seems like there's going to be 30 homes on that one branch. I just think that's way too much.
Can I answer that? Or? We're working with Epping Well, they're the ones that do the monitoring now, and they're actually designing the system, it won't be Kent, and they have to go through DES to design. She already did the pump test, so there's enough water capacity in the wells, but we may have to add more storage capacity and may have to reduce the pumping or the pump size, and may have to reduce the pipe diameters, but I don't have that information yet, but that is something that portion of the system is being designed so that there is adequate pressure maintained for you guys as well as enough to keep the.
Is there any way you consider going a dedicated main to the pump house with its own valve? That way that development is separate. I mean, you're gonna have a lot of shutdowns, being all the construction. If you had that, it would never disturb Country Meadows once that valve and that dedicated main is put in. You know.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm gonna have to rely on Abby to come up with that system. I'll bring that up to her though. And that could be it, I don't know.
And the fire chief wants a fire hydrant down here too, so get the size of
Or storage capacity on the other side, and that's just it, it may be more storage on the other side, so it's not pulling through the tubes running over there.
Do you have any idea what your main's gonna be on the other side?
Chairman Pyra?
Yes, sir.
May I just make, as a matter of procedure, I recommend that we have all comments directed toward the board and responses to comments directed toward the board.
I mean, what size main is going to go into that development? They don't know that, no?
Is it in the plans?
No, so we're currently, as Kevin said, Epping Well is doing the engineering for the water system. They currently run and operate the existing system. They design and run and operate that. So they did the well test to show that there's enough capacity. What we're looking at now is sizing the pumps, sizing the storage, sizing the lines, and she's working on that right now. That has to go to DES, the Water Supply Pollution Control Bureau, for approval. They've approved the volumes, we're waiting for the approval for the system.
When you say storage, are you gonna have under?
I haven't seen the design, we're not, you know, it's being designed outside of my office.
No, but what I'm saying, that when I hear the word storage, I'm thinking a tank. Is that where you're gonna have, is
I
that?
don't know what they're gonna propose.
Okay, where's that well gonna be located? Is that what
Where
that
it's
circle?
currently located, which is over on the Country Meadows site.
Is that what those circles are there, or?
It's on the existing conditions plan.
Existing conditions. So I see a 200-foot protected, there's two wells located, one on either side.
Yeah.
Are those both gonna be part of the water system, or?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, right up in here. You know,
Now, if they're gonna have fire protection, will they be required to have emergency backup to the pump house? Because a lot of times you lose power on a fire, and if you lose the power, the fire protection's gone.
I would assume that's something for the designers
Yeah,
to come up with.
I'll follow up with her on that.
Are there fire hydrants located in here?
Where, yeah, I was just gonna ask, where is the hydrant that the fire district asked to be relocated?
It's in
It
the-
hasn't been.
On the grade and drainage plan and the water and sewer plan, but it's located right here.
What map is that? Sorry.
That's sheet 9,
Thank you.
and,
Do you have, I don't see a legend in here.
and sheet
Bottom right corner.
11.
Sheet 11.
Usually it's in the front.
There's a legend here on sheet 11, down on the bottom right-hand corner. It shows the symbol for fire
Oh,
Where do you see it again? Where'd you point it out on the map again?
hydrant. The fire hydrant's right here,
Yep.
and the legends and the,
oh, it doesn't,
see where it says legend?
Isn't
No, I'm
it
looking
right
at
here,
one.
Eric? Sorry, I see this folder. Over here.
there it is. Thank you.
Read it correctly.
Oh, wow.
Oh, proposed fire hydrant, jeez.
Yeah, on that 11 by
Now, is that
17,
been-
that couldn't be any smaller.
Has that been moved? Or is that
Yes.
the same as it is in this one?
No, it's
It was moved.
just like.
11.
And that's the only fire hydrant required?
Okay.
He wanted it as he came in, so it was closer.
Oh, so they could fit in quicker. Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah,
That's it.
water, stormwater,
If you address the board, please.
on the water, stormwater drainage,
You can point over here though. Sometimes.
yeah, right up here, where's, Safe
Say drive up the uphill.
That's the Scotty.
Drive. That's where I live right there.
Should I think you're, This is a new one.
Oh, that's a new one.
Yeah, that, I think that's.
That's right there.
Sir, what was your name?
Richard the Weston,
Richard what?
the Weston,
Spell it for me.
McUuesten.
That's exactly how I was gonna spell it, but.
You know where I am, where the road ends, this Sage Drive. Yeah, where it ends up here.
Yeah,
This is where I am. I'm down low on around 500 and
Yeah.
90 something. These houses are all gonna be 600 and something. Yeah,
yep.
all the water is coming in the same, in the garage, it floods it.
Okay. It does,
Now-
it does that now?
Yeah, I made a little soil, so I can do it now.
We could do something back here to divert that.
Well, all the stuff from the road that's coming down is gonna hit this lot here. And we don't have no place to go unless you can do it go to the left and right.
Yeah, we're diverting it this way, but we can pick it up this way too.
And go,
Yeah.
get rid of those
Okay.
trees maybe, you know.
Yeah. Let me look
Which
at
will
that.
regrade it. And widen it. You go on. Yep.
Was the board understanding what he was talking about there?
I saw something about drainage, but I didn't.
So Mr. McQuestion lives right here. This is the end of Sage Road, right here. And he says currently he has a problem with water draining off this hill towards his house. So we've agreed to take a look at that and see if we can't reroute it. We're already rerouting some of it this way, but I'll take another look, not knowing that there was an existing problem. But now that I know, we can do something.
You'll see that little hill that was wiped out.
Yeah.
So if you rerouted it this way, there's another house on the other side, right, of the
Right.
street. I don't know if they're,
Well, we're gonna get it
it's
going
higher.
That's
Oh.
up higher.
Oh,
that
okay.
way, so.
That one.
So it won't, okay.
Might go over. That's all right.
Thank you. Yeah, it's important.
Looks like it's 10 feet. Any other?
One more question.
Yes, sir.
If everything gets approved and stuff, will, see, we live on the Sage Drive, that's the one that goes right into it. I just wanna know if all the construction equipment, construction traffic will be going in the new road or will be going down Sage Drive in that direction.
It'll be all coming in from the new access point, it won't be coming down Sage Drive. My intention is to really not change Country Meadows the way that it is now. I mean, the only thing we're doing is tapping the water system from there. But I'm looking at this, I mean, we're calling it a different subdivision, it'll be Highland Ridge. So it's not even really part of Country Meadows, it's kind of its own separate subdivision. And all through the construction process and all that, my intention was to keep it, you know, completely separate. Because Country Meadows is now done, it's fully developed. Everyone is there, is established, and I really don't want to disturb them by bringing in traffic, you know, through Country Meadows. So that was the intention, was to do it that way.
And your intent is to sell each one of these?
Yes,
To be individually owned?
correct.
But the water system will remain a community water system?
Well, it'll be, there'll be an association, which obviously will take care of the plowing and things
Okay.
like that, but it'll also have a fee from the association to pay for the water usage for, at Country Meadows. And what those rates are and everything haven't quite been figured out yet, whether it's metered or whatever, but that'll be done in the association documents.
Will that also be taking care of the septic system?
What's
Yes.
that?
The association will also be responsible for maintaining and care of the septic
For
system?
the community septic systems, yes. Yep.
So do you want to close the public hearing? Is it-
Any other questions from the public? 4 people, half of them spoke, that's pretty good. So I guess we'll close it to public comment.
I propose, since we just received the third-party review, and you haven't been able to implement any of this, that we continue this case.
Is there a motion?
I'll make that in the form of a motion.
I second that.
Sorry. Or
Yes, sir.
discuss for,
Oh, and it just,
yeah, sorry. Date, if we could add a date, we don't have to renotice. March 20, what is it? 27th? That work for the applicant?
I believe conservation.
March 27th or February
March
27th?
27th.
What about February 27th?
I can't imagine that's enough time,
Yeah.
but.
March 27th.
That's gonna be tight.
March 27th then?
Because there's a lot in here when you start looking at it.
March 27th won't be tight.
No,
February
no,
27th.
No,
Yeah,
February could be
yeah.
time.
I think February 27th, that meeting is already pretty well booked.
Yeah, you said it was pretty booked
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
Did you say March 27th?
I did,
So I'll
yeah.
add
So-
that to my motion.
Okay,
Thank you, Dari.
yeah.
March 27th.
And I second.
And Jane seconds it. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 You'll be going to the Conservation Commission meeting next week?
Monday, yes.
Will be.
Any opposed, by the way? I don't think I said that. No opposed.
What time is the conservation commission meeting? 7?
I want to say 7.
I thought it
It's
was,
on the website.
Oh, 6.
I thought it was 6:30, but
You know, and I've gone.
So if you show up at 5, you'll be fine.
If you send me an email, I'll look it up tomorrow.
Come have lunch.
It's on the website. I know it's on the website.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Appreciate your time
Yeah.
and staying so late. And this is the Olympics.
Yeah, it was a marathon for you guys tonight, huh? Thank you.
What is it? Conservation?
Anybody want to give those up or keep them?
7 p.m., sir.
They have money.
You keep them.
7 p.m.
I'm still looking.
Can we throw them out, you'll have new ones?
Could you just email me a receipt for that?
7 p.m. for
yes.
conservation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Glad it's so much nicer,
Yep.
the small side.
Just around 7 p.m. Thank you. You're welcome. According to the town calendar.
It is 7?
I don't know why I thought it was earlier than that. It seems like I'm always.
ZBA is 6, I think. We're 6:30. Conservation is 7.
Conservation 7.
Recreation
budget
is-
7. Rec is 6:30. No, 6 o'clock.
All right, hold on, we're just pretty along here.
So have you heard people say not in my parking lot? That's Town Line Plaza.
What is that?
What?
Oh, it's one order.
This is Walmart, same name.
Thanks, guys.
Oh,
Yeah, I see what
oh,
Not in my parking lot.
so he's on Tilton.
That's what we heard last.
Yeah.
I'm saying. All right. No, it's, oh, you're talking about the, over there. I got you.
All right.
Put snow pile over there.
Gets the better.
All right. Where's my agenda?
We're done.
No, we gotta approve minutes.
Oh my God, I don't know what you're doing.
Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes of the January 30th, 2018 meeting?
I did.
No? I don't even know where I put them.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't even know where I put them.
there wasn't much.
I make a motion to accept them as written.
Second?
Motion to second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Decline to vote.
Fine to vote. I said aye.
It's not even pulled up then.
Opposed? Did you get that? There was one opposed.
I got it. Or,
All right.
oh, there was an opposed?
Aye.
Decline
Yeah,
to
okay,
vote.
that's what I got.
Decline to
Different
vote.
from an abstention,
How is that different from an abstention?
because when you abstain from voting,
Yes.
it generally means that you're just agreeing with everybody else. That's what an abstention means.
I thought it just means you're not voting.
No, when you're abstaining to vote, it's usually because you're unfamiliar with it and you want the vote to go on and you just don't feel comfortable voting yes or no.
I didn't think it had any kind of like emotional content.
But the understanding is that you're agreeing with the body.
I thought it was just
When you
not
decline to vote, it's a nothing. It's not yes, it's not nothing. Decline to vote, not vote.
Switzerland.
All right.
It's Switzerland.
Did we get a, oh,
Any correspondence,
let me see here.
other than the engineering plans?
We can do it next time, there's nothing urgent here.
Any other business to become legally before the board?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Zara, do you have anything else? Just want to make sure.
No, I
Oh,
don't.
'cause you said, oh,
Yeah,
so-
sorry.
No, I just want to make sure. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Didn't think so. Have a nice day. Thank you, ladies and
You
gentlemen.
don't need any of this stuff, right? I'm gonna throw it away.
Oh, really?
Can't
Oh, I
wait
didn't
till
know.
winter and burn it in your fireplace.
Yeah.
Oh my God, my son freaks out if I
Stating
burn
the
magazines, newspapers in my face.
Now, that's not coated though.
Freaks out.
That's not coated.
Oh, I thought you were gonna throw a tissue out.